Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today the topic we're going to get into is um, why is it that men are taught to be a certain way when they're growing up and women are taught to be a certain way when they're growing up, but they're not taught to align with each other. So we're going to jump into this and get into more specifics. So what is meant by that when we bring up that topic or we bring up that statement? So generally in these modern times now, which are obviously different than the way things were maybe 40 years, 30 years, 20 years ago even. Um, the dynamic way back in the days, you would even see this sometimes in like classic movies and things of that sort, where you would have um, maybe a you would have a man who is, we'll take for example, and you can grab this from any kind of movie, but we'll take this from example. Um, look at the first Back to the Future movie, and you remember when Marty's parents, his dad was very like a very stiff type, and the mom was a certain way, and she didn't want, I think his name was Biff, the bully guy, and she originally liked Marty's dad, but he was a little bit of like a stickler type. Um, but that's what it was like back then. The guy was taught to be this certain way, and the woman was taught to be the guy was taught to be chivalrous, and the woman was taught to be conservative. And the idea was that, almost by default, if the guy was being chivalrous, he was being very conservative himself. The woman being conservative, her parents told her to be conservative. She had that influence to be that way, and was taught from society to be that way. The guy was being bred to essentially match what the female was being, taught to be. And so it aligned. Now we're in a space now where that's not so much the case. You still have a lot of men who are being taught at a young age, be polite, be nice, be this and that. That doesn't really align with the modern woman today in terms of, even in terms of just, you know, um, well, there's multiple layers to this. There's even on the level of who's supposed to be the breadwinner, and this and that is starting to kind of fade as well in terms of who's the head of the household and things of that kind of sort. But then in addition to that, just comes those that natural aspect of the the man being overly polite, and the idea that he will not be taken advantage of, where now we're in a realm or time where it's about, you know a guy could be nice. It's told like, okay, women are being taught that guy can spend money on you, vacations, because we're in that era now of social media, and I want to live the high life. So vacations, take me out to dinner. I want to travel the world. It's not like the conservative. I want to be, the housewife, and we do the house family thing. And just in general, not even specifically just to women, but like even just society in general, is that whole high life, highlighting, highlight kind of life. Excuse me. So that has taken over. So when you put that in together with the fact that, for the most part, society still expects the man to be that kind of more traditional or a little more conservative, make the money, spend the money on the woman, spend the money on the family, take the family out, but yet everyone has the state of mind on the reverse end of like, okay, we want to live the high life. It doesn't really line up. And then in addition to that, too, most women are actually nowadays very attracted to the guy who is not conservative. Maybe the guy who's flashy, maybe the guy who is the block boy, maybe the guy who's the cool boy, maybe whatever the case is, you fill in the blank. Some people call them Chads and Tyrones or whatever the case is, but whatever you want to label it, um, women are being taught, especially from other women, to you know, that this is what you should be attracted to. Where back in the days, you would have in the household, whether it's the mom or the father figure, or the father, I'm sorry, the father or the mom would tell the daughters, stay away from the person who is the quote unquote troublemaker. Now that's not being taught anymore. So now the women are going after that type of guy for the purpose of the fun and the pleasure, but then also being taught, okay, if you find a guy who is conservative, is, very conservative with his money, he saves, he puts away, all that other stuff. It's like that's the kind of guy who you could use to get ahead with, but he's not going to be the guy that you are attracted to. And then so you have this separate dynamic. But the point of the message that we're kind of hitting at now or in this video is that the men are not being taught to be what women want. And it's not a matter of whether women like it's bad what someone wants or whatever the case is, but it's just um they're not aligning. So it'd be one thing if we were on this kind of state of mind or this page where guys are taught to don't worry about getting money, be the cool boy, be the bad boy. And then that way, instead of like, maybe 80% of men being that guy who is conservative or go get the 9 to 5 and this and that, maybe we could have 80% of men being, that cool guy, the bad boy, the I don't need the 9 to 5. And then that way they would align with what the majority of the women like. And even a story as old as Age of Time, most women never even liked the 9 to 5 or conservative type of guy, but they were taught by their families that that's what they had to like. And eventually they would know to like it because they understood that meant, similar to maybe their fathers, hardworking, 9 to 5, stable family. It meant you were going to have a long lasting family. Now, because that's not being taught, and naturally a person's not going to naturally want that versus the overly cool guy, tough guy, charismatic guy, whatever the case is, all those things, which essentially creates the same type of person. um you are in a position where now, like I said, it kind of just doesn't make sense that men are not being taught to be that thing. Now, I'm not saying that creates a dynamic where you'd have a successful relationship in the dating world, in the family life dynamic, whatever the case is. But nonetheless, it's very opposite that you have one gender is not being taught uh, the same way the other gender is, so they can actually align in the future. It doesn't really make sense. So if no woman is really attracted, or most women are not really attracted in this day and age to the conservative 9 to 5 type of guy, it really doesn't make sense for that type of guy to be taught to be that way. And I'm not saying that that should be the case to follow suit with the females, but what I'm saying is that either that, or if you're gonna, encourage men to grow and to, you know, have them become that type of guy, then you have to change the minds of the women and say at a young age that women be, taught to not go after a certain type of guy, the charismatic, overly tough, overly, bad guy, all these kind of things, wherever you want to categorize it, it's all the same thing at the end of the day. Teach them not to like that if the men are being taught to be something else. But nonetheless, you just can't have it where one sex is being taught to be one way and one is being the other way. So either all men need to be taught to be bad boys and none of them should be conservative, get money type. They should all be, I'm having fun, whatever the case is, whatever. I don't care about, I'm like that kind of starving artist. I don't know where my next check's coming from, but I'm having fun. I'm living life. I'm having a good time. Who cares where the money comes from? I may not have the money. Maybe the woman can spend the money for me. I don't care. I don't care about anything. Men need to either be designed like that, be taught to be like that, so it matches what women want, or women need to be taught to be a lot more conservative, a lot more subtle, a lot more reserved to match what the men want. But we're in a society now where it's just really not aligning at all. And it's just kind of interesting that neither is being taught to like what the other, taught to be what the other likes. So just a little bit of food for thought. Wanted to share that topic, jump in it. Put your comments down below. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about all that? Just chime in. Let's make it a discussion. That is the point of this channel, and to help others who watch the channel to be able to take some of those food for thought, some of that brainstorming, and maybe apply to their life in ways that might be beneficial. As always, you guys like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.